Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Wherever you are in the world, welcome to Dissecting the Decision. I'm your host, Joe Kinley, author, workshop facilitator, and high school, college, and career coach. Dissecting the Decision is based on my book, Anatomy of Your Decision Making. Our guests will talk about their current life disposition, but not only that, we'll talk about the influences that impacted those decisions that led them to where they are today. Today, I'm so honored to have as my guest, hailing from Harlem, New York, Dr. Bilal Beckles. He's a dentist that specializes in prosthodontics. And prior to Harlem, New York, he practiced in the DC metro area for over a decade. Not only that, Dr. Bilal Beckles was my college roommate from the Virginia State University and Betterment of Brothers and Sisters line brother from 1994. We're taking it way, way back. So it's an honor for me to have him here on the debut broadcast of Dissecting the Decision. So I'm going to give you a round of applause, and I'm going to bring Dr. Bilal Beckles on the screen there. Welcome to the show, Dr. Beckles.
Thank you. Thank you.
How you doing today?
Doing great. Doing
Excellent.
great. Appreciate you having me on.
You know, it's a pleasure having you on. It's been a while since we connected, but to have you here today, like I said, it's an honor to be able to talk to you, but not only just talk to you, but for you to share and impart your knowledge, all of that information that you got from all of these decades from when I met you to where you are today, to the viewers out here listening to what Dissecting the Decision is all about. So what is it about prosthodontics that got you interested in specializing in that area?
Well, to put it simply, it's the art. It's being able to recreate structures of the body and put them in function. Restoring health, restoring people's pride in their overall self-esteem, and bringing them back into the world, back into health, basically.
Okay. So let me ask you this. You know, dentists, they have, some stigmas behind it. You know, is there any myth about being a dentist that you want to set the record straight, try to debunk it?
Well, I believe the biggest myth that I would like, I believe that's the most destructive, would be the fear. That the myth that we cause pain, you know, that we put people in pain, and that we have, I guess we get some type of thrill from it. There's there was an actual song about that on, what was that, Little Shop of Horrors or something?
Yeah, Little Shop of Horrors. Rick Moran.
Yeah, you'll be a dentist, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is that that is very destructive overall, because it's an adult passing their fears on to their child and so on and so forth. And by the time that they get to someone like me, a prosthodontist, where we do more complex cases, we see more breakdown, more destruction in the mouth, in the overall health. When they get to my chair, then they're really far gone. So being able to eliminate that fear early on, and that it becomes another doctor's visit, as you would annually, and meeting those problems head on before they become major. That's really the key, because you would be surprised what we see on our end.
You know, where did you earn your doctorate?
Well, I got my doctorate in dentistry from Howard University. Shout out to HU. That was, wow, it seems like so long ago, but actually this is our 20th anniversary this year.
Congratulations.
So, thank you. 20 years in dentistry, it's amazing. I'm really feeling old. The grades are really showing now.
Is it the stress, or is it other stuff? Just being old, huh?
Well, it's like, you know what? It's interesting. I saw these, I guess, during the Super Bowl and all this other stuff that was going on, and everybody talking and announcing. And I'm like, wow, they're my same age or a little bit older than me. Yeah. And they have jet black beards. They don't have the grays and everything. and I like my grays. They all say something. They're all about in a life experience, whether it's up and down. It just, when I look in the mirror, I'm like, wow, okay, you're older. Makes you think another way. It makes you, you move different. So You won't ever see me Beijinged out.
Yeah, same here. I appreciate mine too. There's a lot of life and story behind them, you know. Definitely.
Exactly.
So why'd you choose Howard out of all the other opportunities? What was Howard? How'd you choose that?
Okay, so my story is different. My story, when I applied to dentistry, to dental schools, I was really in that mind frame that I was going to get into dental school, I was going to make it, and so there was doubt and there was delay. And when I applied basically on the last day. This was like April 15th was the last day you could apply, and I remember standing in the post office on 34th Street because that was that's the major hub post office in New York. And they don't close until midnight. So it just had to be stamped. So I'm sitting in there filling out applications on the last schools. Of course, I was aware of Howard, but Howard was one of those that had the latest deadlines. And it doesn't take anything away from that, but it was that much fear and anxiety that held me back from doing it and believing that I could actually get in. So I applied to 4 schools, the last 4 schools that I could apply to. And I got an interview from Meharry, and I got accepted to Howard. So I went on there.
I hear that. What was your experience like as a Howard doctorate student or graduate professional student there? What was it like?
Well, during school or after I graduated?
During school.
So during school, you're totally immersed in everything that's going on. One, it's a new experience. It's nothing like you've ever went through in college. I remember everything that we learned in biology, chemistry, biochem, and all of those science classes were pretty much summed up in the first week. Mm-hmm. And so you were in there kind of learning the next level and then getting exposed to the oral cavity, getting exposed to teeth. What does a tooth actually look like? And then you know, for me, I was sitting down like, wow, I never really looked at my teeth to be able to understand them. And so you're so caught up in that you're separated from the world, and it's all about school. So it's kind of like I was buried in books studying.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, now, but it was a fun experience though.
HBCU experience, right? Okay.
Indeed. Yeah, yes and no. Yes and no, because we couldn't really partake in the HBCU stuff like we did at Virginia State. You just kind of really just studied.
Gotcha. I got it. So after you left Howard, you went on to Columbia. Tell me about the Columbia experience. What was that about?
So the Columbia experience was different. It was different in that the class was smaller. So I went from a class of 80 plus students down to a class of 4 because they only took in 2 American US state students, and then they had at that point in time they had this kind of joint type of relationship with University of Seoul, South Korea, and they took two of their students as residents. So it was a highly competitive position to get into, but you had more eyes on you. You had a lot more people around you, either supporting you or doubting you. Me walking in there with locks down my back and being the only Black man in the residency programs, and I think in the undergrad, I think I was the only Black man in the dental school at that point in time. And so there was a bit of a culture shock because I'm coming from Virginia State University, and then I go on to Howard University, which my class was diverse, but it was still Howard, it was still DC and Chocolate City. To go 20 blocks from where I grew up, north of where I grew up, to attend this school, but feeling like an outsider. Like, so it was it was a bit of a culture shock, and at the same time, the work was more intense. You were a doctor at that point, and so there was less room for mistakes. As when I was in dental school, you were learning and you were doing this. So by the time you got to your postgraduate residencies, you're expected to know these things and then learn them on a deeper level. And so with prosthodontics, as with a lot of dental specialties, you basically laser focus on that particular area of dentistry. And we've learned all of this over here, but now our focus is to know why this is happening. And with prosthodontics being prosto or artificial prosthetic, and dontics meaning teeth, it's a broader spectrum, because now we're dealing in dentures, tooth replacement with implants, crown and bridge, cosmetic dentistry, even beyond that. But it was a lot more work, a lot more requirements. Right. But I guess you just take it as like the video games that I used to play when I was younger. As you go on, you get to harder bosses and more. The game doesn't get progressively easier; it gets harder. And so, this was just another level that I was walking into. And so, ups and downs, stress, everything that came with going on beyond high school, but just at higher levels of more intensity. I guess that's the best way I could put it.
So the level of difficulty, of course, increased. You were a doctor at this time, a dentist, while you were in Columbia.
So when I left Columbia, it was interesting because I went on some of the worst interviews while I was at Columbia, and I was working on my master's thesis. So I figured, well, it's coming, this is my last semester, so let me get out there and see what's out there. And so I went on. We could really sit down for a long time and tell you about these, but I remember one in particular, and this was in West Pennsylvania. And this Caucasian doc, really heavy set guy that he just had all of these women working. It was a weird situation to see, but I'm sitting for the interview and, talking, nodding my head, doing the whole process. And then he goes, I don't think it'll be hard for somebody like you. And I was like, man, this is 2005. And I'm like, somebody like me? He said, you go by the churches, the civic centers and stuff, and you show them that you're really you're different. You're a nice guy, you're different. And I didn't understand what he was talking about. And he said, I know a lot of black chaps. And I was like, what?
Black chaps, okay.
Wow. Wow, okay, this is what this is. And at this point in time, it was disheartening, because I was like, wow, I kind of got to the highest level. Like, there is, on a ladder, you're at the top of the ladder, you're looking over, I got to this point, and wow, this gut punch. And so there were other experiences. Some were funny, some were just like a waste of time. But I then interviewed at a dental practice in Waldorf, Maryland. And they came up, they saw me, basically recruited me to come down and work. And for me, it was like, wow, like, this is, a big, beautiful office, high tech, high end, and it allowed me to hone my craft. So it was a great experience. And that was all the time I lived in DC, I never heard of Waldorf, Maryland. So it was altogether a new experience. And, I learned a lot from it.
I see. Now, you said you learned a lot from it. So you shared some of the culture shock. You also shared that you did have some challenges. What were some specific challenges that you had that kind of shaped your experience and put you in a position where you are right now? What are some of those challenges that kind of shaped you?
Oh, wow. I mean, wow.
Just a couple of them.
How long you want this interview to be?
We don't have to be that long. Just give me something.
You know, when I moved, when I got that my first job, I moved to Waldorf, Maryland, or just right outside of Waldorf, and it was still developing. It's not what it is today. Basically, like it was like a one-horse town in a sense, and still very much Southern, even though it was like 20, 30 minutes from DC. Okay. Very Southern, and so you kind of got that experience firsthand where he's the doctor. So where'd you go to school? You know, different questions and you know, different flags, red flags on things. So so what I learned, and I think me being naive, just coming from where I came from, I thought that this would bring me up and people, you know, as far as the way that people viewed me, but you kind of get that shock to your system to like, yeah, certain things you're going to always run into, you're going to continue to run into. So that was the first thing that I had to kind of shake off, like, okay, well, you know, you're still a Black man, you know, they still see that. So, you know, toughen up and move forward. And then it was learning business. Being a clinician, being the hands-on with patients, that was more of my thing over business. I mean, when we get out of dental school, we know in medical school and in these different institutions and in the sciences, we know our craft. We're not taught very much business. Hopefully that has changed since, but you gotta hit the ground running with that, and you learn it, and you fail, you rise and you fall from it, you know, and learning how business is. And so when I talk to people about it, I explain to people that business doesn't have feelings, doesn't have a heart, it doesn't have a soul. It is inorganic. You approach it with respect and you move accordingly, because there's no answers to it. It's either, hey, you're doing it this way, you're on the straight and narrow, or you're weaving in and out. And I think that if anybody, any of the students and the people that are looking to venture out and go in these areas, you have to understand that there is, well, I don't want to say that. I don't want to sound like doom and gloom, but I want to sound is like really understand your craft and the business of your craft, and understand your value and know it, so that when you move forward, you're moving with a purpose and you know that you belong in that room. Because one of the things, and this will be the last part of it, one of the things that I did learn was not to shrink myself. Mm-hmm. I'm 6'2", mm-hmm. Right? So I'm not the tallest guy in the room, but I am a presence. And so to come into a room and you're on this level of accomplishment, people will try to chop you down. Not only that, you'll make yourself small. I remember a doc saying, hey, you know, I don't know why you went to school for that long. I could do the same thing you could do. And I was like, wow, okay, cool, mm-hmm. Cool, mm-hmm. All right. And you almost adopt it. You go, well, yeah, man, you could do this, man. You could do this, man. Yeah. If I did it, you can do it. Right. No. If that was the case, then there would be a lot of us. Yeah. It would be more of us as opposed to what I think there's about 2,500 prosthodontists, 2,500 to 3,000, somewhere in that range. And when you talk about Black prosthodontists, I'm going to say roughly 50 to 75 of us in the world. In the world. Oh, okay. Wow. In the world. And when I say that, I'm leaving out Caribbean and and those from the continent. And when you look at the number of Black Americans that are in the industry, you know, we're what, less than 3%, around 3% of dentistry altogether. But then when we get down into the specialties, it shrinks even more. So when you see the numbers of where you're at, like, wow, okay, I'm in this room. Now I got to stand up for myself, because if you don't, those meetings, they will come at you with all types of stuff, all types of humor, all types of dark humor, and that you have to learn how to bob and weave, slip, and say, you know, have your witty comebacks, but not look like it's personal.
Yeah.
But it's almost like, you offended me, but I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna offend you. But we're all gonna do this in a, you know, in a cordial way, because you're always gonna be challenged. So I hope I didn't go too deep with that, but.
Okay. Well, I mean, I appreciate you sharing that much, because I think people need to be aware of what could be. I wanted to share, well, I wanted to talk about undergrad now. I mean, when I met you, it was in 1993. We were biology majors at Virginia State University. Notice I said we were biology majors. I changed later. You remained. You were fixed and focused. And from the time I met you, you said you wanted to become a dentist. So I applaud you for your commitment to the cause. Can you please share a little bit with our audience, a little bit about what was your motivation and commitment to dentistry? Because I'm sorry, as a biology major before you went to dental school.
Okay, well, shout out V State, of course.
Yeah, orange and blue.
I'm going to take it before Virginia State. What got me interested in dentistry, I was in a after-school program, Boys Harbor, Upper Bound, and we would go on college tours.
Mm-hmm.
We would, you know, it was a multifaceted program, but one of the main things is they would expose us to these colleges and universities, especially outside of New York. We went to Virginia colleges, Virginia State, Virginia Union, Hampton, Norfolk. And when I was at Virginia State, I mean, one of the most beautiful campuses ever. I'm sure you would agree.
I do.
It blew my mind, and I was like, wow. And I told the recruit, I said, I'm coming here. I'm coming to the school. So at that point in time, I didn't know I wanted to be in dentistry. Fast forward, I'm in high school and I'm taking these biology and health science courses because I wanted to be in the health field. I wanted to be a doctor. I just didn't know what it was. So as they were, the Urban League had a program at that time, and they were taking me to the medical clinic. In order to get to the medical clinic on Sydenham on 125th Street, I had to walk through the dental clinic. Well, the CEO or the head of the Boys Harbor program, Dr. Robert North, who we just call Bob. We just knew him as Bob, and we just knew him as a guy that ran the program when we used to play basketball with him. Never knew he was a dentist. He, as we're walking through the dental clinic, he steps out of the room and he says, Bilal, what are you doing here? And the woman, which I cannot recall her name, but she's an amazing woman. She helped me out a lot. But she explained to him what the program was and where they were placing me. And he said, no, he's not going there. I was like, what? And he said, no, he's going to stay right here. Don't worry, what do I need to sign? He's going to stay right here. I had no desire for dentistry. I didn't think about it. That wasn't my thing. So as I worked there, I'm assisting, I'm cleaning instruments, I'm learning this craft that I wasn't even looking at, I wasn't even aware of. I started to enjoy it. I found a passion for it. So we got a stipend, but it really wasn't something like that was like, oh, I got to be to this place every day. But every chance that I got, every break from school, winter breaks and summer and all of that, I would return to Sydenham until they moved the clinic into Harlem Hospital. And this was around 92, 91, 92. So when I got to Virginia State, I had already had that passion in me. I was like, wow, I had that experience. And it was like, okay, this is what I want to do now, because it was like, wow, I could make money off of this. I could live. Like, this is fun. So I always said that if it's something that you don't enjoy, that you don't look forward to, that it's just a job. And I used to say that what I look forward to and what, you know, what I enjoy, that's more of a career to me. So in my mind, when I was coming to Virginia State, I was like, well, this is going to be my, my career. And that's, so when I got in and we met, yeah, it was already implanted in my head that this is what I'm going to do. So, but I didn't even know the path. I just knew, okay, go on biology pre-med. Those are all of the requirements, and stick with it. There's no other way that I saw getting into dental school without doing what I was doing.
I see. And I guess in my experience, I wanted to be a doctor. Didn't know exactly which one, but my experience was more because I saw it on television, and it was a lifestyle that I wanted to live based on what I saw. But I didn't have the expectations. I didn't know the expectations of what it was like to get from point A to point B, and if I was willing to put it all in to get there, until I experienced it. So that was interesting what you're sharing. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that as well. But while you were at Virginia State as the biology pre-med major, was there ever a moment when you had second thoughts of saying, you know what, maybe this isn't for me?
Yes. Well, college, that was college period. And I always, I tell this story where when I got accepted to Virginia State and I came down to the school, I knew I had the money in my pocket, which was about $400, right? Mm-hmm. I had about 3 suitcases. I couldn't afford it. I knew I couldn't afford it. I knew it, and I knew that maybe they wouldn't give me financial aid, for various reasons that I made up in my head, things that were just telling me, nah, you're not going to make it. You're not going to make it. And it had me, it had a hold of me so much that I never unpacked. I used to open my suitcase and, you zip open the top and it has an opening and I'm just taking clothes out, wearing them, putting clean clothes back in. Because for me, in my mind, it was some Gestapo type of DEA, federal kick in the door. You didn't pay your tuition. Yeah. Get out, and so I was prepared because each and every day it was like, they're going to get me. They're coming to get me. And so the drive for me was, I wasn't supposed to be there, but somebody let me in. Now, I want to do as much stuff as I can while I'm in here before they kick me out. And if they kick me out, I'll go out gracefully. I still got my stuff packed. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, stop. I'm at the wrong school. I meant to be at Norfolk. All right, yo. Like, it was a plan in my head. Mm-hmm. But that literally would go on and follow me throughout, my 11 years of school, was that I didn't know if I was supposed to be there. And while I was there, I made the best of it because, who else from my block, from my neighborhood was doing this? Who else from my neighborhood was going to college and stuff? So it was it was interesting, but it was a drive and it was a push, so right. Yeah. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. And you told me in another meeting we had about you went to a high school named Brandeis and what that was like, and so where you are now is a long shot, but you made it.
Yeah, because those from New York and those, I mean, you could probably look up, it might be some YouTube videos or something, but I went to Louis D. Brandeis High School in the late 80s, early 90s. And it was a hard school. It was to the point where I thought for a split second, that Lean on Me
Yeah.
with Joe Clark, I thought that was about my school. And it, because it looked, it's graffiti, it's fights, it's drug selling, dealing over here and all of this. But we didn't have a baseball bat swinging principle. So it was a tough place to be. And that was the true kind of, I think, that pipeline to prison, those school pipelines to prison, because anybody would tell you Brandeis 80s and 90s was really, it was a tough place. It was almost like a prison. And so to get out of it and to think and to sit back and think back to, wow, I was there. And I was able to navigate out of it and survive it. You know, I was able to survive that. And that's one of the things that I was talking to a colleague about. I said, you know, we, from where we're from, me being from Harlem, and, you know, I got colleagues from the different neighborhoods and that weren't, you know, rich kids. They weren't rich, you know, they went through the same things that I did. I was like, we're survivors. We're the ones that survive. It's a hustle at what we do. We have to navigate through this stuff. We have to step over crackheads. We have to turn down what I call obstacles and illusions, like drug dealing and all of that other stuff, and stay on path and stay in the square. So for me, it was when I think about Brandeis and I think about, you know, my neighborhood and all of these other things, it was surviving, and it was hustling to get out, but not in the way that people think. I mean, it's not a hustle. I thought about it this way. Maybe I'm going too deep on this. The hustle, selling drugs and all that other stuff was the easy thing. That was the easy way out. I mean, literally, and it was possible, but the hustle really was to sell something to yourself and to your family, into institutions, into Sally Mae and all of that, to believe in you that you're going to achieve this goal that you went out on.
Right.
And so there was always doubt. There's always fear, and there's always second guessing that I had, you know, but it was like, there's got to be something better than this. And so I got to keep moving forward step by step. So, you know.
I hear you, man. I hear you. I know in my book, I listed like 8 steps to your destination, and it started with an influence. And the influence is your source that kind of impacts to what your thinking is. And your thinking will affect your feelings. Your feelings will lead you to a decision that you're going to make, you know, based on whatever that feeling is. And then the decision will lead to your actions. Okay. The actions will then lead to your habits. How often do you do this? Habits will lead to your character, and the character will ultimately lead to your destination. So what I'm hearing, what you said from high school and the thoughts that you had, and, you know, you coming from there, you had a motivation, you know, that source way back then kind of led you to a point where you are today. And I know you're not at the end of your destination. You're still in your journey, because we're all still on our journey, you know, until we leave this earth. But I appreciate you sharing that. And I wanted to go back I wanted you to talk about the high school aspect of it. It's one thing to talk about the college experience, but to go back before college. I'm glad you brought that up, and I wanted to have you elaborate, and thank you for what you did on there. But now let's jump right back to college real quick. All right. So we're in college. We're in these organizations. You know, I think we shared a couple organizations, but I think you took it to the next level. You did like modeling and all this other stuff too. Can you share?
Modeling.
Can you share some of the organizations that you were part of, and also share how did you stay committed to those responsibilities in some of those organizations? You know, without having to go in depth too much in it, but and to stay focused on your path towards earning your biology degree.
Okay, so I'd have to take it back to what I was talking about previously when I said that somebody let me in, and I didn't know if I was going to be there for long. And so, just like you stated, I grew up I watched School Days, I watched A Different World, and Cosby Show and all of that. But that Black college experience and growing up next to some Greek houses in the neighborhood that I grew up in, I got to see like these different aspects that weren't really shown. We didn't know about that before this. And so to get there and go, oh, wow, they have this program, they have this organization. Mm-hmm. I was excited to join and just be a part of it for this short little time that I thought I was going to be there. But at a certain point, it really helped me kind of develop into where I am today. So I was a part of course, I was a part of my fraternity, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, biology club, as you said, BBS, Betterment of Brothers and Sisters, NAACP, Beta Honor Society, whatever that thing was. I was in a lot of the programs, and I was New York Free Alumni, and I was president at certain points. But I always made a point to be a part of the office, hold some position, because you learn things and you get access and experience from those, and also the leadership part of it. So, I did that and I enjoyed it. Ran for Mr. Virginia State. Got robbed. It was a robbery. No, it was. And I'm not afraid to talk about that if you want to talk about it.
No, we can talk about it some other time.
I got robbed. Right. But all of it was about the experience. And that's what life is. It is that experience. So I wanted to have that college experience. I wanted to be in these organizations and have fun doing this and go to homecomings and all of the stuff that I had saw that was kind of a made up world on TV, to see it playing out in front of me. I was just excited. I really enjoyed undergrad. I enjoyed college.
Yeah. I know you shared briefly what your experience was like with the bag. And this was before we were roommates. I guess that was the dorm life.
That was the
roommates. We were off campus, and that was a whole different experience out there. And but we really had a good time. But it was a great experience. And I wanted to, as we begin to close the broadcast, I wanted you to, is there anything that you could share with any viewer about staying committed to the path or motivation, anything that you want to share?
Well, I think that you have to kind of light a fire under yourself, especially when you're going for something that is not common and familiar in your family, in your neighborhood. I think nowadays, having social media, you have more access, and you have visuals of, go on LinkedIn and you'll see all of these people who are graduating and gaining these degrees and stuff. Well, back when I was doing it, we didn't have those. You might have had Jet Magazine or something that highlighted certain people. You might have had the Ben Carson's book and stuff. And those were the motivating factors. As small as they were, it was like, wow, these people could do it. Mm-hmm. And so, being that if you don't see it in your family, your neighborhood, you can't really look for people to understand how much you're doing and what you're going for. Because for a long time, people were like, "You're still in school," like, not knowing how many layers and how many degrees that it would take to get to the point that you want to be at. You have to kind of stay strong on your path. And for me, it was like I was hard on myself, but you have to build a callus and you have to prepare yourself, because these programs, these degrees and these careers are not easy. And so for me, my thing was I didn't want to quit and I didn't want to fail out. Right. So they're for me, quitting and having to come back home that was failure. Now, I'm not saying that that is to anyone else. What I'm saying that in my mind, I had set that bar to say, at least pass this class, get past this semester, maintain these grades, still enjoy, when it came down to undergrad, when it came down to dental school, you shut all of that down. Now it's just this. And when you commit to it, you really have to keep that battery in your back. You have to, because you got to root for yourself. You always got family support. If you do, I have a wonderful family. They helped me, whether it was support coming down, sending me whatever money that they could so that I could keep going. But they believed in me, even though they may not have understood where I was going. A lot of people don't have that. So I can't tell you that, the family support or the friend or the church or anything like that. But when it falls down on you, you're the one that's going to sit and take those exams. You're the one that's going to stay up studying. You're the one that's going to live off of ramen noodles, sleep on floors and different things in order to get to your goal. But those are character builders. It doesn't feel like it. I'm dead serious. It doesn't feel like it at the time that you're going through it. It doesn't. It feels like the worst, and you wonder why you're being treated like this. But if you keep that fire lit, you keep stoking it and giving it oxygen and celebrating those steps, not the end. We can't see the end. Celebrate those steps that I got through this and I got through that. And that's going to help level you out, so that when it does come time for you to graduate, you knew that you put all into it. You knew that, you know what the next step is, and you're just keeping that 1 foot. This is my older brother. Shout out to my older brother. He said, 1 foot in front of the other. Just keep 1 foot in front of the other, and you're going to get there. You're going to get there. Just stay focused, 1 foot in front of the other. Once you look up, you're going to be steps from where you were. Keep your head down and keep moving. And then at some point, you're going to find that place where you need to be and where you're supposed to be. So I don't have a magic answer or anything easy. I say treat it just as I said with the video games. They're levels. Every level gets harder.
Wow.
Then you win. You have your wins, you have your losses.
Yeah.
But you made it through.
Wow, that's impactful information. I know when you make an impact, it makes a difference for real. And I think anybody that heard what you had to share definitely is going to take something back and make some changes, or just enhance where they're headed. So that's an amazing thing. But also, I'm looking in the background, and I know a little bit about this, but I want you to share with the audience. You said you're an artist. You like to do things. Share a little bit about your art in the back.
Well, this is just so what I found that especially when you're in high stress environments, with COVID, there's so many things that are going on. There has to be an outlet. You always have to have an outlet. And I've always drawn when I was younger, but I never painted. And so I just started painting a couple years ago, and maybe a year ago, about a year ago, seriously, I started putting more in. And I just keep going. Like I'll get off work, I'll finish seeing my patients and everything, and then turn on some music, and then go at it. So this is my little amateur. I'm an amateur. Oh, this is amateur stuff.
How many pieces you got back there? Is that 1, 2, 3, about 5, 6 of them? I can't even see.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah.
So do you do this
about 11,
after work?
12, 13. And then the rest, actually, the beautiful thing is with my practice, I'm able to put my art up. So it becomes my own studio. And so patients get to walk past and they, admire, or whatever they have to say about it. But,
Mhm.
I feel good inside when I consider the patients like, wow, this is amazing. This is just like, yeah. So
Right.
that's another great thing. But I encourage people to have their outlets. It doesn't matter what it is as long as it's safe. It ain't hurting people. But have that, because you really have to have that balance, especially when you're taking on and when you're going into the medical field and the STEM fields, you're going into finance or these cryptos and all of this other stuff. These things can be, they can offset, your whole system. And so you have to find that peace,
Yeah.
amongst all of the chaos.
I hear it. I hear that.
Yeah.
It's a good outlet to de-stress if you get to that point and just relax. I hear that. Now,
Indeed.
before we go, I also wanted to share this. I know that, like I said, this is not the end where you are. Tell us what's next in your journey as far as in
Okay.
your profession.
I recently acquired a practice. Practice is about 40, it's over 40 years old. A staple in the Harlem community. My former department chair and mentor, Dr. George White, he owned the practice, and then he passed it on to me. And so it's prosthodontics, being the restoration and reconstruction of teeth, through removable, like partials and dentures, implants, cosmetic dentistry, full mouth reconstructions. But I'm taking it a bit further into obstructive sleep apnea and airway prosthodontics. And obstructive sleep apnea deals with the cessation or the loss of oxygen when you sleep. So when you hear people snoring and then they just stop, it's like, that is apnea. That's the cessation of air or oxygen. And that can take place from anywhere from 10 to 15 seconds an episode. So this is the silent killer that's, taking people away, that it's compromising people's health. And the root of a lot of the major health issues and these comorbidities that we're hearing about since COVID has happened. And so one of my key focuses was prior, I had a sleep apnea aware practice where I notified patients of my findings and sent them forth to get assistance with it. And now what I want to create here is a sleep apnea directed practice where we are actually providing treatment and guidance and focus along with other healthcare professionals, and building a coalition, a team, as it will, to take care of patients, so that we're more proactive with health than we are reactive. Because reactive is what we witnessed a year ago, 2 years ago with COVID, is that people are trying to stop these people because we've been resting in sickness so long that most people don't know what healthy feels like. And so what my focus is to get people to that healthy state so that they know when sickness is present. A lot of us, we're sick, we're acidic, our bodies are not in good health. And so a cramp here is, I get a cramp here, until that cramp turns to cancer or something of that nature. So instead of reacting and responding in that nature, or in that process, instead of reacting and responding in that process, we want to be proactive in getting ourselves together. And then as we need to be treated by those in the healthcare community, it's more of a community. It's more of a community where I know your physician, I know your nutritionist, I know your mental health therapist. We know all of these things. We know what medications you're on, and we're able to treat you to say, hey, you know what? thanks, personal trainer. You brought their cholesterol down. Physician goes, yeah, so we're going to take you off of this. And then the nutritionist goes, okay, we're going to change your diet to this because your body can now accept a plant-based diet, or they can now accept these different types of vitamins and nutrients and stuff. So being that team-based approach, along with bringing awareness of obstructive sleep apnea, we can start to get people in that healthy state so that when the next virus down the road appears, it appears. It's a virus. There's millions of them everywhere. It appears and then it goes. And so it shouldn't be shutting down the world, but it just goes to show you that the world is sick. And these are the things that we need to do. We need to get together as a team in order to heal everyone. Wow. It may seem big, I guess, but you know what? I think big, and I think that it is possible as long as people start to open up their minds. And lastly, about that, the reason, one of the driving forces is that when COVID did hit, most of us in the healthcare field received emails and letters requesting our assistance in the hospitals. Okay. And it didn't matter if you were a dentist, a podiatrist, a vet, or something, they needed all hands, on board. And so we had to drop our egos, and this is what I do, and this is what you, and everybody had to get their hands dirty. And so if we can do that in a healthy time, in a stable time, I think that the presence of anything down the road is going to be quickly eliminated and tended to. So, I mean, that's kind of like my grand spiel, or my vision. So
big vision. It's got to be big, man. Don't make it small.
It's got to be.
Yeah, I hear that. Well, I wanted to share this with the audience in order to get in touch with you. This is Dr. Bilal Beckles, his information, Bilal Beckles DDS MS, comprehensive dental specialist. All right. His website, www.cdsdentist.com. Check it out. He's also on LinkedIn. Yes. And he's also on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter. He's in Twitter. So if you have any questions, actually, he also has a Gmail account too. I believe it's what is it? What's your email?
Beckles, Dr. Beckles at gmail.com.
Dr. Beckles at gmail.com. Don't be shy. Give him a call. He keeps it real, and he'll answer your questions. Also, I wanted to give you information about where you can contact me if you're interested in participating in a broadcast like this for an interview at kenleyspeaks@gmail.com. Here's my office number, 757-550-0440, website, kenleyspeaks.org. And don't forget, Dissecting the Decision is based on my book, Anatomy of Your Decision Making, which is available on Amazon.com and Books A Million. So please grab your copy. You'll hear about Dr. Bilal in that as well.
I'm in a book. Can you believe that? I'm in a book.
He's in the
for
book.
a good reason too.
It'll be a good story. So thank you, Dr. Bilal. I appreciate you. I'm sure the viewers appreciate what you had to share, and hopefully we'll be able to chop it up again, learn some more about the decision processes on your next move.
Definitely. I appreciate you. Appreciate your time and your platform, and allowing me to speak. Thank you very much.
You are welcome. You are welcome. And until the next time, Dr. Beckles, have a good one.